Shut the Blinds, Chapter 1. Dark. She couldn't see. That was the first thing that came to her mind when she tried to think. She couldn't see, or at least she thought she couldn't. All around her was darkness. She could feel her eyes opening and closing over and over again. But as much and as hard as she tried, her world of darkness stayed firmly put. Forcing herself not to panic, she bobbed her head around, thinking that perhaps it was just in that particular spot she couldn't see. But alas, no matter which direction she turned her head, she still couldn't see anything. Then she heard something. She couldn't describe the sound exactly, but from what she could hear, it was soothing. It was a humming sound, low and raspy as it touched her ears, but it had a calming sense to it. The small sound was welcoming to her ears, which had heard nothing, but her shallow breathing up to this point. Soon, after a long, hard effort, and the help of the peaceful melody, she managed to calm her scrambling senses to a point of relative comfort, if only by a small margin. The sound rang in her ears louder now, and, as if automatically, she started moving forward. As she walked, something seemed to happen. Everything started becoming lighter. The place was still dark, however, but the space around her just seemed to go from pitch black to a dim gray light. She smiled as she kept her pace, happy to have something other than pure darkness to keep her company. The humming, unlike the darkness, stayed the same. A low melodic rasp, even though it was relatively low, and she was sure that any other soul that was in her little void would not be able to hear it, she could still hear it clear as day. That thought gave her comfort. The thought in knowing she was an individual in this strange place, and that this comforting little rhyme was her own. She kept walking, now feeling oddly relaxed in the space. As she got further and further along, however, she noticed that the light grew into somewhat of a passageway, almost like a large tunnel. However, she couldn't see the end of it, if it even had one. The female blinked curiously as she saw the light change. It was weird, though. With each step she took, felt nothing underneath her hoof, if that was possible, which she was quite sure it wasn't. She actually wasn't sure how she was even moving. Still, she didn't let it stop her as she moved. Keeping her steps light, just in case the thing keeping her standing collapsed, she saw the shape of the tunnel descending down the length of the large void she was in, and in return she kept following it. Still, it wasn't like she had much of a choice. Soon this tunnel started getting wider, and wider, and wider still, until it started getting brighter. It was then, in the middle of the bright passageway, she stopped. Maybe it was a hunch. Perhaps it was an internal voice in her head, screaming at her. But nevertheless, she stopped. Something was going to happen. She was sure of it. Beep! She heard. It was right in front of. Suddenly, the large light that stood before her grew brighter, and more calming, was it? She wasn't entirely sure, but she felt at ease in a strange way. Beep! The sound started getting louder and more hysteric. She started hearing something else as well, but she couldn't make out exactly what it was. But it was hysteric as well. It sounded almost like voices, though. Yet even with the beeping and the supposed voices, the calming, yet unimaginably bright light that shone before her soothed her. It made her feel warmer, safe and warm. Soon the vast darkness around her became nothing more than a distant thought, sinking away into the deepest corners of her mind, never to be thought of again. Or at least, she hoped so. What was that? It was in her chest. Pain. That was what she felt. That was all she felt. Again and again that electric jolt shot through her chest. She gasped and stepped back, grimacing. To her dismay, the light started fading. Her eyes widened as the comforting warmth the light brought with it started fading too. Gasping, she felt another spike of pain blossom within her. Desperate to make it stop, she closed her eyes and clutched at her chest. After a few moments of intense agony, the light was gone. Completely and utterly gone. It was in that moment she felt crushing defeat, and surprisingly, another sensation. It was warm, hot, sticky, and it was running down her face. Her breathing hitched and her knees collapsed, buckling underneath her scant body weight. And there, in that void of black, the great feeling of loneliness washed over her, engulfing her in its cold, unforgiving hands. Is she waking up? A dreary yet hopeful voice broke the silence that had made itself known to her. She grimaced as she turned her head weakly, flopping it against the light, fluffy solid. Funny, it almost felt like a pillow. Dashi? Rainbow Dash turned to the sound of the voice. Unfortunately, she still couldn't see. Groaning, she forced her mouth to make words, but those premature murmurs were stopped by a professional sound. "Don't speak," a male voice told her. Barely able to think, and not wanting to argue and make her head hurt more, she begrudgingly closed her mouth and turned her head back. Then the voice spoke again. "You've been unconscious for a while, Rainbow Dash, but it could have well been a lot longer." She groaned at the news. It hadn't answered any of the questions swirling around in her mind, and only made her head hurt. Deciding for herself that she could speak again, she forced her mouth to move, and this time words roughly slipped out of her mouth. "How long?" The words sounded rough and scratchy, even for her voice. Then again, she hadn't used it for a while. The voice, the male, seemed taken aback, though she couldn't imagine why. Around a week," he answered. Rainbow moaned in annoyance, thinking of all the things she might have missed. Suddenly, she felt a hoof on her own. "How are you feeling, Rainbow?" Twilight Sparkle's voice asked. The Pegasus assumed that it was Twilight's hoof touching her own. "Like I got hit by a train," she muttered, grimacing. "What happened, anyways?" "You mean you don't remember?" Pinky asked curiously. A little step was heard after her small sentence, probably meaning that she had hopped closer to Rainbow Dash. "Pinky, hush!" Rarity's fine voice scolded. "Do you really expect the poor dear, who's been comatose for a week, might I add, to remember something probably very traumatic for her?" The alabaster unicorn's voice sounded very sympathetic. "I guess, but a dragon's attack will be kinda hard to forget, don't you think?" Pinky replied. Rainbow's body shot up, but a gentle hoof helped push her body down. "What d'you mean, a dragon attack? What happened? Why can't I see?" As she heard the words come out, she thought her voice sounded on the brink of hysteria. "Miss Dash, please, calm down," the doctor, or at least she assumed that was who it was, urged. She grunted, but followed his instructions reluctantly. "Okay, I'm calm. Now, can you tell me what happened?" she asked impatiently, in the most peaceful voice she could manage. "First of all, as you might have already guessed, you're in the hospital." Rainbow snorted as the doctor brought that up. "And as Miss Pinky here informed us, you did have a run-in with a dragon," he told her. Rainbow Dash let out a heavy sigh. "Jeez, wait, who's here right now?" Pinky's here," said Pony, answered immediately. "I'm here too," the southern voice said. That was most definitely Applejack. "And I as well." That was Rarity. "I'm here too," Twilight said from beside her. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was only 4. One was missing. "Where's Fluttershy?" she asked, turning her head in Twilight's general direction. "That ties in with the dragon attack," the doctor answered. "Are you sure you don't remember?" Rainbow Dash thought. What had happened? She felt like she should remember, but no immediate details came to her. Sure, some did, like a dragon was in the Everfree Forest, and some other foggy details pushing themselves out of the haze of her subconscious, but that was it. These events they were listing off were almost completely foreign to her. Panic then rushed itself into her mind. "Wait, is she okay? Where is she?" Rainbow asked quickly, concerned for her friend's well-being. "She's fine, thanks to you, Dashy," Pinky told her happily. Rainbow breathed out a small sigh of relief. In this jumbled state of confusion, it was nice to have something that she was sure of. Then a thought came to her. The thought burned almost as if an open flame had lit itself inside her skull. It burned brightly and made itself known very well. Thought led to another, and another. Soon a whole scene was playing inside her mind, going to Fluttershy's and talking for a while before a loud crash broke the comfortable silence around her. "Fluttershy!" she had yelled. "Get out of here!" "But, Rainbow, go!" "Rainbow, are you all right?" Applejack asked. She heard footsteps coming closer. The Pegasus grit her teeth as her muscles tensed up. More memories came rushing at her. The image of a dragon appeared. Then fire. It was everywhere. All that she could see. She could only see fire, and even worse, it was heading straight at Fluttershy. Said Pegasus was frozen to the spot, seemingly paralyzed with fear. Suddenly, the split-second decision was made. In a heartbeat, Cerulean Pegasus was in between the line of fire and her friend. Then, a burning. A white-hot burning. She remembered she was foolish enough to open her eyes, and she saw a beautiful purple light descending upon the flames. That was when she must have blacked out. "Wait," she said slowly. The noise that was there a few seconds ago stopped, and the room fell silent. "Why can't I see?" The sentence was slow and precise. A sigh. "I might as well get down to the point. Now, I assume you know enough about the dragon attack," the doctor asked her. "Well, when it happened, you were burned. Badly. It actually killed you." That was new. "So you mean I was dead?" "Yes, you were dead," he finished for her. "But thanks to Miss Sparkle, you're still with us." Rainbow made a mental note to thank Twilight later. For now, she let the doctor finish his explanation. However, there was one consequence, for lack of better explanation, of the method she used. Another pause, then a deep breath. "I hate to say this, Miss Dash, and I'm truly sorry, but I'm afraid you will no longer be able to see," he told her, sympathy filling his professional voice. Her heart stopped. What?" she gasped, a lump forming in her throat. "The nerves behind your eyes were completely burned off. We did all we could, but even the magic we used wasn't enough. I'm sorry, but you are blind." She leaned her head back against the pillow and tilted her head up. She couldn't see? And if she couldn't see, she couldn't fly. And if she couldn't fly, she couldn't join. If you could hear the sound of a heart breaking, then a deafening shatter will be heard at that very moment. Her dreams were destroyed. She wasn't the fastest flyer in Equestria anymore. She didn't hold that title anymore. For that title, you needed to be able to see, a sense she no longer acquired. All she was now was nothing more than a helpless cripple. In a moment of bitter devastation, she felt as though the whole world had come crashing down upon her as the full reality of her situation kicked in. She was blind. Hello everybody, make sure to check the description for a link to the fanfic itself and a link to a list of fanfics that I've read and am planning to read. Also make sure to leave your suggestions in the comments below and keep annotations enabled to easily get to the next chapter. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.